You're live.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Economic Development Committee meeting for Tuesday, April the 23rd, 2024. Please call roll.
Chair Ottenberg,
Here.
Councilmember Bartoni,
Here.
Councilmember Brooks, Councilmember Dodwell. Here. Councilmember Fleischer, Councilmember Garitano,
Here.
Councilmember Jaxi,
Here.
Councilmember Marshall.
Present. All right, thank you. And we do have a quorum, so that's good. Next, we move along to approval of the minutes from the March 26, 2024 meeting. Does anyone have any questions on the minutes from that meeting? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
Make that motion.
Councilmember Dodwell, seconded by Councilmember Marshall. Discussion. All those in favor of approval of the minutes, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? And abstentions. All abstain. All right. Councilmember Jaxi abstains, minutes approved. Moving along to public comment. Do we have any public comment this evening?
Yes, we do. Dan Tripp from Good News Brewing, sorry.
Say it 3 times.
Stumbled over that, sorry.
Regardless, we like it.
The product.
Yeah. I wish I had it, yes.
All right.
I second that. Oh.
Yeah. Well, welcome, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. We'll share here.
Sure. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you all very much. So my name is Dan Tripp. I'm one of the owners of Good News Brewing Company. So a little story, kind of how Good News Brewing got started. I was a home brewer, making beer in my basement and never really got that good at it. But I tried a lot. I'm a teacher full-time, and my dream was to retire from education and open a brewery. And then we were doing a Bible study at my house, and my friend Matt Fair came into my Bible study, and I said, "Hey, I'm a home brewer." And he's like, "I'm a home brewer too." And I was like, "You want to see my brew system?" And so he came down to the basement and saw my brewery, and he was like, "This looks really pathetic, and you're probably gonna burn the house down." He was a car mechanic, thankfully, and so he was able to build a really nice brew system. And so he built a great brew system, and then I took all my brewing equipment and gave it to him. And so I started brewing beer with him in his basement, and then we actually got really good at it, doing it together. So our Bible study, we had a brew party once a month where we would just hang out and brew beer together and hang out. We got really good at it and made some great beers, and we would donate beers to different organizations and events and charities. And one day I saw a little commercial retail space next to our homebrew supply store and asked, like, "Hey, what would it cost for us to take this place over to open a brew pub?" And long story short, they said, "You can't, but you can brew beer for us." So we started brewing beer for them. And I was like, "What is that? What do we have to do?" She's like, "Well, just get a name and form an LLC, and you can start collaborating with us." Like, that's great. So I went home and Googled, what is an LLC? Because I'm a teacher and I have no business experience and knowledge. So we bootstrapped it together, formed our LLC, formed our website, created a business, and then they ended up closing their business. So we needed to find a retail space. So we searched all over. We're in St. Charles. We were in O'Fallon, Missouri, Lake St. Louis. We searched all over. I would call all these like big developers, and none of them wanted to give us the time of day. We weren't Anheuser-Busch. We were just some guys brewing beer out of their basement. And luckily, a lady who just bought a laundromat had a little space next door to it. And she was willing to lease it out. And we told her our story, how we got started, and she agreed to lease it out to us and gave us free rent until we actually opened it up. We opened up, and really it was an overnight success. We were selling more beer than we could physically make. We opened up at the right time, the right place. Everything was great. And so we do wood fire pizza and beer, and we needed another brewery to actually make our beer for the first few years. So we were contract brewing out, and we went to our bank and said, "Look, we're paying this guy to make our beer. Let's buy another location." So we So we bought our Defiance location, which is our biggest location. Most people know us by our Defiance location because they go out to the wineries, they see this big, beautiful building there. So we were able to buy that building. We were able to do an SBA loan to buy all of our equipment, hire a full-time brewer. Then that kind of blew up and has been very successful. We outgrew that physical space, so we bought the Augusta Brew House in Augusta, Missouri. And now we moved all of our equipment there. And then just last year or 2 years ago, we purchased a property in North St. Charles in Frenchtown area and opened up there. And every area that we've opened up to has kind of been an area that we've been able to come in and to join and partner with the community. That's a big part of kind of our roots and who we are, and that's what we like to do. You know, our motto is gather, eat, and drink. So we're a gathering place for people to hang out. I have been looking at Wildwood for several years. I actually looked at a few other properties. They didn't work out. I looked at the feed store, and then we had a property in the city that was under contract that fell through. I went back to Wildwood. I saw they lowered the price of the feed store, so we made an offer. We had the property under contract. There's still a lot of things to go through and to work out. You know, this world's crazy now with construction costs and contractors, and there's several unknowns, but we don't have any investors. We are still self-funded by just me and my business partner and the SBA loan. I'm still a full-time teacher, and that's who we are. And so this space, hopefully you've seen kind of the proposal. The idea is to make it a fun gathering place for families. I don't know if you've ever seen Frankie Martin's food truck court or 9 Mile Garden. That's the idea, is that, so we serve wood fire pizzas. So we'll do wood fire pizzas inside. And so we'll always have wood fire pizzas every day of the week that we're open. We'll probably be closed Mondays and Tuesdays. That's just kind of how we do our operations. So we'll always have pizzas every day. But then on the weekends, the goal is to bring in food trucks and then, you know, have some entertainment. That's gonna happen. When I say entertainment, it's acoustic bands. I hate to see them call them bands, but usually 1 or 2, you know, people playing the guitar and hanging out. We're gonna put a bunch of bocce ball courts and activity games. So there's gonna be beanbag games, you know, cornhole, bocce ball, other yard games that families can hopefully ride their bikes there. I know that you guys have a bike initiative, so definitely want to be a part of that. Us being on the Katy Trail, that's a big part of our revenue is working with the cyclists and doing gatherings. On Thursday nights in Defiance, we do pub runs. So we bring people together, they go out, they run, and then we give them a free drink, and then they eat pizza, I guess, for all the work that they did for running. So they deserve it. So that's a little story of who we are, and that's kind of our vision for this area. And that's it. I don't know if I'm questions now, or is that it? So.
Those
That's
guys
later.
that ask
Okay.
questions.
All right.
City
no, that'll
Administrator,
be-
can we ask questions
That'll
during the
be
session?
on before action items, so
Okay.
if,
Just stay at the table.
yeah,
All
he
right.
can,
Yeah.
he'll be here, but then we can.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, super. All right, well, thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate it. And if you don't mind sticking around for a few
Absolutely.
minutes,
Love
then we'll get to some questions for you.
All right.
Thank you. Anybody else on public comment? Anyone online?
No, sir.
All right, thank you very much for that. Discussion items. We move on to update on business changes and other business news. So City Administrator, we turn that over to you.
Thank you, Chair Ottenberg, appreciate that. Got a couple updates tonight. One being, we do have Mr. Tripp, the owner and operator of the Good News Brewing Company, with us tonight to discuss and answer questions about his proposed use of the feed store down off Manchester. A couple other announcements. The Snipe Academy is a new hockey school that's opening. It has officially opened, doesn't have students in it just yet. It's located at 2650 Highway 109. We are working with them now to get them all licensed up on the business side, and then also get a ribbon cutting arranged with them. So good news on that front. Mitten Martini and the Local House Bistro, both in the town center area, are new restaurants coming in here shortly. Both have gotten the proper licensing, and now they're just kind of putting in some finishing touches. The Local House Bistro should be opening within the next couple of weeks. And last but not, there's 2 more announcements here. Sassafras Clothing Company as well, just got a sign put up in New College Avenue where Wildwood Pub is. They're located at 17237 New College Avenue. And they'll be opening probably in the next 2 weeks. And lastly, and we actually have a member here with us, Miss Becky, the Businesses of Wildwood, it's not listed on our memorandum, but the Businesses of Wildwood are having a meeting at the Lucky Dog Central location on Thursday, May 2nd, 2024, and that's gonna be from 4 PM to 6 PM. And for a location there, it's 16917 Manchester Road, where Lucky Dog Central is located. Available for any questions?
Are there any questions for the city administrator? All right, then we move along to ready for action, and if there are no objections from other members of the committee, what I'd like to do is change the order of the items to be discussed here and let the gentleman from the Good News Brewing Company is this where we can ask the questions now?
Yes, as long as the chair and the committee all agree to rearrange the agenda.
All right, does anybody have any objections to rearranging the agenda? Saying none, then we will open it up for questions to our guest. Any questions?
What school do you teach at?
So right now it's St. Charles City. I
Okay.
was in Rittner, then I was in Parkway, and now I teach an entrepreneurship class now.
Okay.
It's kind of fitting.
That's a good idea. That's a
How
good
ironic.
idea.
Yeah.
So your initiative down the street here at the feed store, when would you roughly guess that you might open if everything goes well?
I would love to be open by the fall, but just because of the process, I don't see that happening. So I would anticipate probably spring. But I'm shooting for, my goal is this fall.
Okay, super. Well, I can guarantee you will get a lot of cycling traffic coming up Old Manchester Road. Cycling is my big passion.
Great.
There's a Monday morning group that I go out with that usually comes through here around noon. But even if you're open on Monday and Tuesday, a lot of those people also circle around out through here other times during the week. So there'll be a lot of cycling traffic on that road.
Like cycling.
Other questions for our guest?
Hi, this is Morris City, water and sewer.
Yes, both are available.
Good. Not always, so that's a good
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Is he gonna have to rerun the lines in due to the age of that facility or?
I'm hopeful not.
Okay.
But as his architect begins the development of the plan,
Doer wise, yes, it's because it's on a septic right now and that won't,
that it is available.
but it's available, so we will have to connect that. And that's one of the unknowns that I don't know the cost of that and, you know.
It's probably better than trying to get the sewer system or the septic system to work.
Yes.
We're gonna be better off that way.
Yes, we have our Defiance locations on septic
I'm
and
gonna say it's gotta
we would
be,
prefer to be on sewer.
yeah.
I don't really have a question, but,
Joe.
Mr. Vunich.
Sorry, please.
no, I was just gonna say, I don't have a question for you, but welcome. Look forward to it.
Thank you.
Actually.
Yeah. I'm thrilled.
One of the things Mr. Lee and I have been talking to Mr. Tripp about is the parking component. And both their Defiance and Augusta locations have gravel parking as part of their number of stalls. And so we talked today, just, we're hopeful that we can make parking a little different here than elsewhere in town center, and that all the required parking would be paved, but that excess parking would be a gravel type. It helps in many ways, keeps the cost down for the business, but also we don't need as much stormwater management. And that's a key component that also we're not sure of what MSD will require. So
We need
Councilor.
more stormwater management with an asphalt top than with, or with a gravel top than an asphalt top?
No, but
asphalt
they're-
requires more, gravel less. So that's why we're trying
Oh,
to split
okay.
it. We're
Okay,
trying to meet the minimum required amount, and the rest, whatever is necessary to accommodate the business plan, would be gravel. I'm sorry if I was confusing.
no, I mean, part of the reason I was asking was, to me, gravel would be better off for the city, for the whole thing. But I know some of our codes require asphalt on top, but that keeps a reduction in the water runoff for that low area down there.
The idea here, I guess, is kind of, it's more of a, it's town center, we usually require the paved surface. But I just think in this particular location, it would be consistent with the building type and the kind of business that's being proposed, you know, and so hopefully as we work through the commission and city council, that we'll be able to work out something that's positive for all of us.
Yeah, I think we need to be creative on this one.
So along those lines, have you engaged with an architect yet?
Yes.
And so looking at the footprint of the property and having been a patron of that property for the last 5 years. Are you planning on using, what are you thinking? How are you planning on using it? So I know-
Specifically what, we're talking the parking or the?
So there's a lot of gravel there right now.
Yes.
With very little asphalt right in front of the building, I know. There loops around in the back. Are you pretty much gonna stay in that area of it or?
Yeah, so ideally we would widen the roundabout.
Okay.
And widen it for spaces for cars to park on there. Repave the front and expand it to meet the minimum requirement, you know, meet the requirement of the city's codes for, you know, surface. We have to have surface material for handicap accessibility and, you know, we'll want that. So our goal is to have food trucks to be able to pull up to the front of the building and have access. We will have electric hookups right there in the front of the building, similar to like an RV hookup. So that way generators aren't running in the background and it's loud. So they'll be able to hook up directly to our electric. So yeah, so we want the front to be, you know, paved, but then, yeah, widen that whole entire roundabout. So it's gravel all the way around. And then the grass area will be, you know, depending on cost wise, you know, eventually it'll most likely gonna be gravel in the beginning, but we're gonna have the bocce ball courts that will be the artificial grass. And then hopefully over time, we can keep adding more of the artificial grass and again, make it a comfortable place for families to hang out.
Thanks. Any other questions?
And just as a more of on the for action side of it, tonight, the department, and it was attached to the agenda, on the digital agenda. The department's seeking a favorable recommendation or an endorsement for this proposal that's been presented tonight, at least the phase one of it. Going into Good News Brewing Company submitting a petition and then having that go and forth for the Planning and Zoning Commission to get that input from the EDC before going to that portion. So that's the request tonight. I'm available for any, department's available for any questions as well, but this does actually, if you look at the data from our citizen survey, this checks off both boxes. This
So
is
you are looking for
I'll make a motion.
committee's official endorsement for the proposal as it moves forward. So that'll be included in the formal report spelled by the planning department as they live in the planning.
So Councilmember Marshall, you're making the motion, and then Councilmember Dodwell, you are seconding. All right, any discussion on the motion that's on the floor?
The only thing I want to say is, let's make this as easy as possible for this gentleman to bring his business into Wildwood, because I think it's gonna bring some additional activity in the town center. We've got our pickleball courts going in soon, just down the street, so somebody could head from their pickleball courts over to your place, and this is a great plan. I wanna see it before I die.
It's a long ways away.
A lot of restrictions on that.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, so seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. All right, thank you very much, sir.
Appreciate it. Thank you all.
Welcome to Wildwood.
These two gentlemen right here are your keys. basically, for the project.
They've been excellent so far. They really
Good.
have. So we've worked with many cities and I would say this has definitely been one of the best and easiest to work with.
Great,
Oh,
glad to hear it.
good.
All right.
Good luck.
I greatly appreciate that. All right, hopefully we'll see you all soon and having a beer.
All right, thank you. Okay, super. Creation of a job board on the city website. City Administrator Lee and I spoke at length about this possible initiative last week. And there's a lot of things to consider with this possible initiative. So I'm gonna turn things over to the city administrator, and I know there'll be a few questions once he gets done with his description of the initiative. So
Thank you, Chair Ottenberg. And this idea is stemming from a suggestion and a discussion that was held at the March Economic Development Committee meeting. Councilmember Brost had brought up a young gentleman that was looking for a job. And then a further discussion was had regarding the city's efforts to be able to potentially have job fairs, participate in job fairs, and also promote general open vacancies, if you will, throughout the city. In one case, the department did speak with the city attorney on this item. And the issue of having actual job fairs and participating in job fairs, they are occurring. Eureka High School just had one. The local house bistro actually was there looking for new employees there. So it's happening. The high schools have them and the community college do have them. But if the city were to hold an actual open house job fair type of event, there could be issues of businesses that maybe don't reflect the city's character and overall messaging could potentially participate. And if we were to turn them away, that would be considered infringing on a First Amendment right. So that was a little bit of an issue, but we kept digging. And one item that was discussed that hasn't gotten full clearance from the city attorney, but wanted to get input from the committee was that we could potentially have a job board, we're calling it a job board, even though it isn't a public forum, where businesses that have an opening could reach out to the city via a form on the city's website. We would then review that form, considering things like, do they have a valid business license? Are you a valid Wildwood business in general? And are you a actual commercial business? You don't want to have home-based businesses hiring, because that's, you gotta be following all federal, state, local, laws. And in this case, there's a little knockdown of what we would require for them to submit it, and then the city would then review to see if they're in good standing. If they were in good standing, then the city could transcribe, not necessarily copying and pasting what they had provided, but transcribing the information that we believe is necessary to put on a job openings board, if you will, underneath the business page, the business tab of the city website. This is something that needs final sign off from the city attorney, because there are a couple little tweaks that are there, but one crucial part was if we were to move forward with a proposal like this and to put this actually on the website, the department would then draft the final form, bring that back to you for review at the next meeting. But then secondly, we would get the city attorney to sign off on allowing this with the notation, if you will, that an individual would have to confirm they have a valid business license, be a Wildwood business, and be in good standing with the Secretary of State's office of the state of Missouri and all federal regulations. So tonight, the department's asking for feedback if this is a good move. And another thing to think about if we were to move forward is that this might be something we want to put on in the oven, if you will, and set a timer on it. Come back in about 6 months to see how successful it is on both ends. Have people actually gotten jobs from it? First and foremost, that's the major piece. And then secondly, are there any businesses how many businesses have participated? How many businesses have reached out and completed the form? And luckily with the form, we'll be able to at least know half the data there. We'll be able to see who's all submitted information, but the other half, when it comes to individuals that might have gotten jobs, that'll have to come from self-reporting from those businesses. So that's something we could reach out about 6 months. Thank you.
So questions for city administrator? Councilmember
I
Jackson.
think you just answered. My only question is, I love the effort, absolutely. Would be, how would you know if the board was the impetus to their hiring or to their, at least applying, I should say?
In this case, the way we could measure that, we would, if we have 35 if we had 35 businesses reach out and fill out this form, like we've had success with our new resident packets, we open it to every Wildwood business, so there's no issues there. But if there were a ton of businesses, like 35 that were putting it on there, that could be successful in itself in the beginning, especially during the summer months when you might be looking for part-time labor. How we would be able to follow up on this is that in the form, it would actually require, you can make certain items be required for it to be submitted. And in this case, we could have it you'd want this anyways, is the email address for the contact info for the individual that might be hiring. In that case, we just create a standardized list and send out a BCC email, if you will, as we're going into a reporting block and say, hey, have you had success with this? And has any individual been hired and been referred to from the city website? And we could get, it would be self-reporting, yes, but it would also show those individuals would either, if it's, we're gonna be taking it down, if it's not working, they're gonna come back and say, oh no, it's working. We got 2 employees from it, or whatever it might be. That being said, the city website is not the most trafficked website in the world, so it might not be too big, but it would be a good spot for what I was thinking, the department's thinking is that with summer jobs and, part-time work, it could be a good spot for individual kids that might be going to the community college or might be going to Lafayette or the other surrounding high schools. If they want to look at jobs that are really close to home, they could ride their bike to. This would isolate job opportunities in the city of Wildwood because we wouldn't allow an Ellisville business to post on there.
It might be good then to make the various counseling offices at least aware of that. Because you mentioned that the Wildwood site isn't necessarily the most trafficked, that might help point some of those populations to the website. But I applaud the effort.
Or some, excuse me.
No.
Or some type of advertisement document that the counselors can hang up. I don't know if they keep
Yeah.
bulletin boards or that they could use to post out to the student population. I don't know how they let.
Yeah, simply
students-
Wildwood jobs and a QR code directing them
Yeah,
to the
uh-huh.
city
That'd be the
website.
QR code.
Yeah.
That's what works in a high school.
Yeah,
That could definitely be done.
So my concern was that you hit them all, is they needed to be a registered business in the city.
mhm.
And that we need to make sure it's the kind of businesses that we want. So if they have the business license, I think that's all good news. Maybe when you give them the form to fill out, something could be on there that, as we provide the services on a monthly basis or something, let them know, or just do a drip campaign of those email addresses to say, hey, you've been in it 60 days, how's it working? And Survey Monkey or something else, and just get some feedback on it, other than waiting for them to report it. But let them know that this is part, because they're not gonna have to pay for it. Let them know that reporting back is part of the commitment on their part, and try it. I think it's a great idea.
Councilmember Garitano, you've had your hand up for a while. Sorry to keep you waiting.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I like the idea, and I see it as 2 different jobs for the city. One is being a collector of job postings, and then the other job is promoting the site to a different audience, which is for people that are looking for jobs. So my question for Thomas is, do you feel we have the capacity to take this on to be successful? Like, who do you think would be working this here? And I think the other thing too would be to see, like I think was mentioned, that we reevaluate at some point to see if this is something that we want to continue to move forward or not with.
With your permission.
Yes.
In this case, at first, I think there is the capacity, considering it, I can pull a report if it's a form, specifically because it's a form. I could pull a report that would make this pretty easy to transcribe onto the theoretical job board. That being said, we do actually have, the department has an interview with one candidate this week and another candidate next week for the econ dev and communications role. So that individual would eventually be in charge of managing the board, and then our record keeper here, Colleen, actually manages our business licenses that come in. So it'd be a quick, the report would be shared between the individual running the econ dev role and then also with Colleen, and they would just confirm if that business license requirement has been met. But I would agree, I would tend to agree that 6 months is 6 months or a year is probably the best timeline on this, just to make sure it's making sense, because it does take city staff time to transfer that information over.
Yeah, thank you so much for providing your insights. That's just my worry, is this or any other ideas, the capacity. I think we get a lot of great ideas, but we can only handle so much at a time. And so, it's good to know that you do have someone that that's new that could potentially take that on, because they will need to periodically check with the businesses to see if these postings are still valid or if the positions have been filled. So I think there'll be some work of tracking down people to make sure that all the information is accurate.
Yeah, you don't want to leave it stale.
Other questions for City Administrator Lee? So I guess a couple of quick questions I have for promotion of this job board. You could put a spotlight on the homepage. Possibly something that goes out. Isn't there a weekly email that goes out to the residents? So we could do it there. Does it make any sense for us to send a press release out about this to West News and or Eureka Leader?
We can we could let the Eureka Leader know. I don't think this rises an occasion to get an actual press release drafted, but
Okay.
we can send out an email to Ms. Huber with West News and the Eureka Leader. We do have contacts there to just let them know that it's there so they can try to support it. But we do have the spotlight capabilities. We have the e-newsletter this can be shared at. We also have our social media channels that this could be used. One quick note is that we do have to get kind of a final review completed by the city attorney. We're in a pretty good space if the city attorney says that there's no issues with doing this method. But we still need that final sign off before going fully promoting it and then launching it.
Could we,
Go ahead.
could we send it to all the individuals that have business licenses in the city of Wildwood?
They typically do, unless they're a larger corporation, they typically do actually provide a good email address. That's actually where I get my mailing list from. But some, obviously do have like it's licensing ad business, whatever it is. So sometimes that is the case, but typically your more mom and pop shops, you're gonna be able to get a good contact info from that. We'd be able to share that with them.
Other questions for the city administrator? City administrator, what action are you looking for from the committee tonight on this project?
Tonight, first and foremost, feedback, but also a motion to proceed if approved from the city attorney with drafting the actual form and then presenting the last bit, this form at the next meeting.
Okay, so Councilmember Jackson makes the motion, Councilmember Dodwell seconds. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, now we move along to not ready for action, update to the economic development guide. City Administrator Lee, is there anything new to report?
Nothing new to report here, but we do have we actually got a pretty large uptick in candidates for our site. I've been doing a little bit of some search engine optimization items that have gotten in front of some more people that have reposted it, and we've actually gotten a flood of different applicants. So really excited because we've got 2 really good candidates already, and there's already been 5 in the last 3 days that have applied too. So we're starting to rack up some serious numbers. Good news on that front.
Good, good, good. Okay. Go ahead, Councilmember Thomas. No,
Do you think you'll have any update for our May meeting that you'll be doing interviews between now and then?
Yeah, that'll be pretty much, if it depends on how the interviews go, but if the interviews go pretty well, we could have someone in the position, well, at least an offer or something along those lines. But yes, I would say this next month will be heavy on interviews.
Okay. Just trying to figure out how to get that monkey off your back.
Yeah. Appreciate
all right.
Without taking the leash yourself.
it.
We will move along to miscellaneous items here. I have one question for the city administrator. You mentioned Mint in Martini. Is there any projected opening date for that establishment at this point in time?
There, and Colleen and Joe, if you've heard any department planning and deputy city clerk have any input. I've spoken with Ms. Patel a couple times, and it seems like they've got the licenses that they need,
Yes,
but
they do.
but they have some work that they're gonna be doing quite a bit. If you look at the Red Chili Indian Cuisine restaurant in Chesterfield, redid the entire interior of that building to fit kind of the mold of what they're trying to offer. It's gonna be a similar restaurant, it's just gonna be a different name. So I would say that she said there's a lot of work still to be done, but they would probably look to open and take advantage of some of this summertime addition, because really within the food industry from January to March is typically your slowest 3 months of the year. So they're gonna try to take advantage of the time leading up to Christmas. So she said they're gonna look to open within the next couple months, but they just need to get some things done in that building.
Perfect, thank you. All right, anything else under miscellaneous?
Anything at the restaurant here in the corner? They seem-
Benedetto's?
Yeah, they seem to be working inside, but
Yes, so well, two things there. So that the department was able to confirm that the former owner of Benedetto's did actually sell all the equipment that's in there, so everything's in there. Was transferred and sold over to the owner of the building, which is now being leveraged to be turnkey ready officially now. They have done quite a few walkthroughs. That's probably what you might have seen in there. They've probably been moving a couple things around, but they are, this is one time I actually will say the broker is working pretty hard to fill that spot. The lease is up, so they are losing money on that spot. Benedetto's effectively got out of the contract at a time where it was done. So in this case, we don't really have the worry that we do at some other locations where the person might sit and collect a check for a couple more years. So I would say that if they continue at this pace, they should have that building, that section of the building rented out within the next couple months.
thank you.
Good to hear. Other questions for the city administrator or any other miscellaneous items? Yes. Okay, I'll just make a couple of comments. I think this is the last meeting for this particular session. I think at the next meeting that we have in May, we may have a couple of new members to this committee. And I think Councilmember Bartoni, this may be your last Wildwood City Council Committee meeting that you attend. So thank you very, very much for being here and your participation over the last year and all the years you've been on council.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Scott.
And thank you to everyone else on this committee for your support and ideas and suggestions along the way. I appreciate that. And our next meeting is scheduled for May 20th, 2024 at 6 p.m.
Changing different days around. And will this committee lock into a date going forward? I mean, we went from Tuesdays to Monday nights and. it just-
Typically, this committee should be meeting on Tuesdays at typically the last Tuesday of the month and the second to last Tuesday of the month, and that is pretty consistent, but sometimes when we've had like a holiday, which is I think the case next month, and it's had to been pushed back because this is kind of the one floater, if you will, because typically we try to clear out the last week completely. This has been able to fill in that a little bit. But yes, Tuesdays at the last Tuesday of the month, typically at 6 p.m. is when this meeting should be occurring.
All right. There's nothing else under
Adjourn.
motion to adjourn. Okay, do I have a second by Councilmember Jaxi? Non-debatable. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Ooh, I think we set a record.
Yeah. Good night, everyone.
Night, Joe.